Hello,
Hello.
good morning.
Morning.
You can see the screen.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is angular velocity?
Um.
The symbol is omega, right?
Yeah.
And hold on. The speed at which the angle is covered.
Yeah.
So omega, you can say it's d theta by dt, right? And this thing, if you take this is a circular disk. You take any point, it will take a say capital T to complete the circle. So 2 pi r divided by the time period for one revolution. It's velocity, right? And this omega is the angle covered divided by time. So the angle covered in one rotation is 2 pi. Divided by the time taken is capital T. Okay. So from here we'll get V equal to omega into R. Is that clear? Right. So the linear velocity and angular velocity are related by this relation V equal to omega into R. But velocity is a vector, right?
Yeah.
So similarly, we want to define a vector. Angular velocity is a vector. And another thing is, if we take in translation motion, say blocks sliding along a plane, all the particles on this mass will have the same velocity, right? When it's translating, all the particles will have the same velocity, translation velocity, right?
Yeah.
Similarly, if this angular velocity is also for same for all these points on the disk, then it will be convenient. Okay, and the angular velocity is 2 pi by capital T, and capital T is same for all the points of the disk, any point, right? Your mic is off. The time period to complete one revolution is same for all the particles, and omega is 2 pi by time period t. So omega is same for all the particles. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we can say omega of the disk. Like here we are saying velocity of the block. Similarly, we can say it's the omega of the disk. Okay. And if you want to make this a vector, you want to give a direction to this omega. And if you take the direction to velocity of any particle in this translating block, it is same, right? Okay. So we can, since it is same, we can add them if it is required. Similarly, if we can give a direction of omega to all these points, if the direction of same, then we can add them if it is required. So the direction which is same for all the points is r cross p. If you take a point here, the direction of r is this one, and the direction of velocity is this one. Velocity is tangential, and the radius vector is radial. So r cross p is coming out of the plane of the paper in this direction. Okay, similarly for a point here, r is this way, and velocity is this way. So r cross p of this particle is also out of the plane of the paper. So if you define omega vector as 2 pi by capital T, which is same as v by r, and then give a direction, which is the direction of r cross v. Then this is a vector whose value is not changing from point to point in the disk, and also the direction is not changing from point to point in the disk. Okay, so this vector, it's a vector which is not changing from point to point in the disk, and direction of r cross v is same as r cap cross v cap, because the direction is simply the directional vectors. It does not matter, magnitude does not matter. Okay, and r cap plus v cap is magnitude of r and the magnitude of velocity, which is 1, into sine of the angle between them. That is 90 degrees. So this is also 1. So this is actually unit vector. So that's why omega 1, which I defined like this, r cap cross v cap, it's a unit vector. Okay, so I define a vector whose magnitude is 2 pi by t and the direction is r cap cross v cap. So I define omega like this.
So we did all this right.
Yeah, but you can understand it's a little bit complicated,
Yeah.
but it's there in the video. So since you saw
Okay.
it, okay. So we define this omega vector as magnitude is v by r because v by r is not going to change from point to point in the disk, right? Because v by r is 2 pi by t, and the direction is r cap cross v cap. Okay. Now I'm crossing r vector on both the sides. Okay, since this r is there, it will become r cap here, and this is this result you accept right now. So this will become v cap minus r cap, and then r cap dot r cap and v cap dot r cap. So this is 0 because they are perpendicular. So from this, I'll get this result. The velocity is omega cross r. Previously had v equal to omega into r, which is just a uh, which just gives the magnitude of the velocity and the angular velocity. But I'm defining now v as omega cross r, which is all vector quantities. Okay, so omega vector, which is defined like this, does not change from point to point in space, both in magnitude and direction. Okay, so similarly, I can define another quantity called L, which is r cross p. Okay, so again, the direction of this thing should be same at every point. If it is same at every point, it's easy to add vectors. If two vectors, when I'm adding, if the directions are same, it's as if I'm adding scalars, right? Because the thing which differentiates between vector and scalar is a direction. And if I'm adding, say, three vectors whose directions are same, it's as if adding their numbers. Okay, it's like 3 I cap plus 4 I cap plus 5 I cap is 3 plus 4 plus 5, right? If we define a quantity whose direction is same for all the particles, then it will be convenient. So I'm defining this one, and this should be same at r every point. So, and p is a linear momentum which is m into v, and v is omega into r into v cap, where v cap is the direction of velocity, and this is an r cap cross v cap is constant. It does not change from point to point in space. That you have seen previously. Here. Your mic is not working. Okay, following, right? Like I defined omega, similar defining L as r cross p, and the motivation or the way I define this L is the direction of it should not change from point to point. Okay, that is the first condition. Okay, and the advantage of the direction change not changing from point to point is for adding L of different particles, I can add as if they are scalars, right? So for a particle I can have Li as Ri cross Pi, and L of a system I can just sum these individual angular momentum of the particles. Okay, and this sum is a scalar sum because the direction of all Li's are same. Okay, and similarly, I will define another quantity called torque, which is r cross f. Okay, now we have to find what is the significance of all these newly defined quantities. So angular momentum is defined as r cross p. Now we'll take d by dt on both the sides. Okay, this also you accept this result. This how it will get distributed. It will be d by dt of r cross p, and then r cross d by dt of p. And dr by dt is velocity, and p is m into v, and a cross a is 0. Right? You know this result of the cross product, right? A cross a is 0. because A cross A is A into A into sine theta, and theta is 0. So A cross A is 0. So this quantity is 0, and this will be R cross dP by dt, and dP by dt is force according to Newton's second law of motion. Okay, and this R cross F is we define as torque. Okay, now the significance is, now if the torque is 0, then this thing is 0, dl by dt is 0. So that means that L is conserved. And this result is called law of conservation of angular momentum, which states that when external torque is 0 acting on the system, then the angular momentum of the system is conserved. Okay, so this is analogous to the in translation motion, when the external force is 0, the linear momentum is conserved. This we already studied in chapter number 5, laws of motion. So similarly, in the rotational motion, when external torque is 0, the angular momentum is conserved. Okay, is it clear? So basically,
Yeah.
we're defining two quantities, angular velocity omega, which is related to linear velocity as omega cross r, and then angular momentum r cross p, where p is a linear momentum, and torque is r cross f. And these are the analogous quantities. In translation, we have r, linear velocity, momentum, linear momentum, force, and then mass m. In rotational motion, we have same position vector and then angular velocity, and then we have angular momentum L. Instead of force, we have torque, and instead of mass, we have called I, which is called moment of inertia, which we learned just now. Right. Like angular velocity is how fast the angle is changing, right? This is angular velocity. Similarly, I can find how fast this omega is changing with time. Like we have v and how fast the velocity is changing. That is what? What is dv by dt? Acceleration, right? Similarly, I can define d omega by dt as angular acceleration alpha. So this alpha is the angular acceleration. And force, corresponding to force, we can define a torque. So this is the body, and see this is the axis, and there is a force acting this way. They are acting at this point. Okay, so this will create a torque. This is r vector, and this is the force. So this will create a torque. R cross F will be in this direction. Okay, and this torque will be anti-clockwise. The angular velocity will be anti-clockwise. Okay, yeah, angular momentum of particle is related to the linear momentum as r cross p. Okay, so in a system of particles, I think it was there in the previous one. Okay, in the system of particles, if you have a forces acting on the system at different points. So in the case of system of particles, okay, so all the individual particles are moving size of different velocity v1, v2, and there are different forces acting on it. So the total force is this one, that is equal to the mass into acceleration. So the internal forces F1 is the force acting on the particle 1, which will include external forces and internal forces, but the internal forces will cancel. So only the external forces will remain, right? So this we did for force into mass into acceleration, right? In the case of translational motion. Similarly, for rotational motion, we can see this force could be acting on particle 1. Similarly, there could be some other force. Say F2 acting on some particle 2. Let me call this F1. So a lot of forces will be acting. Okay, and each particle, because of the forces acting on it, will experience a torque, say tau 1. This particle will have torque tau 2. Okay, so the tau of the system is vector sum of individual torques. on the particles. Okay, and this torque you can, any particle will have forces acting on it, right? So Fi cross R cross F. So Ra cross Fi. Where Fi
So
is,
what is unit of torque?
torque is Newton into meter because force is Newton, R is meter. So torque will be Newton meter.
Okay.
Right. So summation of this one. Okay, let me consider two particles, 1 and 2. And what are the forces? So the particle 1, see R1, and there is internal force between 1 and 2. There is a mutual interaction between 1 and 2. And similarly, there will be R2 cross F21 and F12 equal to minus F21. This is what? What is the relation due to? Newton's third law. Okay, every action has got this action-reaction pair, and F12 is a interaction force between particle 1 and 2. Okay, so it will be R1 cross, and for this one it will be F21, and since it is minus 1, so it will become R1 minus R2 cross F12. Because F21 I can write as minus F12, so it will become R1 minus R2. And what is R1 minus R2? R12, right? Okay, and the direction of R12 is along the line joining between these two. And the direction of F12 is also along the line joining the 1 and 2. The direction of these two are same. So this is equal to 0. Because A cross A is 0. A dot A is A square. A cross A is 0. Because A cross A is A into A into sine theta. Theta is 0. So A cross A is 0. When the directions are same, the cross product is 0. Okay. It can also be A cross B. If A and B are the same direction, then it is 0. Is this clear?
Yeah.
So R12 and F12 are same directions. That is why it is equal to 0. Okay. So the torque which is being produced by the internal forces, interaction forces, that will not contribute to the total torque. Like in the linear thing, the internal forces got cancelled, no? In this one, the internal forces got cancelled because F12 and F21 directions are opposite. So it will get cancelled. Right? Similarly here, the torque which arises because the internal forces will get cancelled. So only the external forces which is acting on particles will give rise to torque. So summation of this is summation of external torques. So tau is tau external plus tau internal, and tau internal is 0. Okay, so only tau external will remain. The total torque is due to tau external, and torque I have defined as R cross F, right? And L is R cross P. Okay, d by dt of L is torque, right? That's what it's been derived here. D by dt of L is the torque. This is similar to Newton's second law of motion for rotational motion. Newton's second law of motion is force is rate of change of momentum, right? For rotational motion, this instead of force will be torque equal to rate of change of angular momentum. Okay, this is Newton's second law of motion for rotational motion. So this torque, which is only the external torque will be there. Okay, So this torque, external torque, is rate of change of angular momentum. This is analogous to the translational motion, where external force is rate of change of linear momentum. Okay. From this, you will get the result when the external forces are zero, L is constant. That is conservation of angular momentum. Similar to the linear thing, when external forces are zero, the momentum P will not change with time. That is considered linear momentum. Similarly, in the case of rotational motion, when external torque is zero, angular momentum is conserved. Okay, this is called conservation of angular momentum. Okay, what do you mean by equilibrium of a body? The net force should be zero, right? When you say static equilibrium, that's the body at rest, then the net force acting on the body should be zero. Correct? Your mic is off.
Yeah.
Okay, so similarly in the case of the thing when it's rotating, in addition to the net force being zero, the net torque should also be zero. This is a static equilibrium. So these are the two conditions. The force should be zero, acting on the body, and force you can split into three components: x component, y component, and z component. All the three components should be zero. And also the torque. Torque is also a vector, which you can split into three components. The component along x-axis, y-axis, and z-axis, which should be zero individually. So for equilibrium of a rigid body, once you say rigid body, it means the body has got a finite size. Once it has got a size, it will start rotating also. When it's a point mass, rotation does not make sense. There can be only translation. Okay, so once you say equilibrium of a rigid body, both translation should be stopped and rotation should be stopped. For stopping the translation, the net force should be zero, and for stopping the rotation, net torque should be zero. So this is the new equation which you are using for this rotational motion. The net torque should be zero, in addition to net force being zero. Okay, right. So, see, this is a rod of length AB, and C is the midpoint, and there are two forces acting on it, right? So, what is the net force acting on this rod? What is the net force acting on this rod?
Sir, which rod?
This one, figure 720.
Yeah, I can see.
What is the net force?
Zero.
No, there is a, the direction of the force is same, no? Direction of force at A and direction of force at B are same. So it will get added, no?
A plus B.
Yeah, F plus F, 2F.
Yeah.
Okay, and say that a rod is fixed at this point C. It's a pivot, it's fixed to the ground, say, or fixed somewhere. Okay, what is the net torque acting on this rod? Torque is R cross F, no? So what is the net torque? See, this is, take this as origin. Okay, so this force, this is R vector, right?
Sir, will it be zero?
This is R vector. R cross F at this point is out of the plane of the paper, right?
Yeah.
Here it is into the plane of the paper.
Yeah.
So tau equal to tau 1 plus tau 2. It's a vector. And the directions are opposite, the magnitudes are same, so it is 0. The magnitude is same, right? R into F. It's actually A into F. AF and then A into F. If this is K cap, this will be minus K cap. So the sum will be 0, right? Yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so obviously the rod is there. If you're applying force both directions, it will start moving. Okay, so this whole rod will translate like this. Will have translation velocity, but it will not rotate. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Suppose this is not pivoted at this point, C, it's free shape, and applying two forces at two ends. So the full rod will translate, but it will not rotate. Okay. Now I am applying force like this. So now what is the net force acting on this one? What is the net force? You just need to add the forces. No, it does not matter where it's applying. Whenever you want to add forces, just add them. You don't have to think where it's applying. Net force is 0, right?
Yeah.
Because the directions are opposite. What is the net torque?
0.
Torque. Just do R cross F. Check whether the directions are same.
Yeah, sorry.
The directions are same, right?
Yeah.
So it will add up. So it will be A into F, 2 times A into F. Because A and F are, R and F are perpendicular, and sine
Yeah.
is 1. So R cross F is A into F. The
Sir,
torque is
vector torque is vector cross product of R and F, right?
yeah.
Okay.
I mean that's how you define like that. That's why it's
Yeah.
torque is R cross F.
Hmm.
Okay, and L is R cross P, and the motivation for defining like this is the direction is same everywhere. Okay, so when you're adding L of the system, it will become a scalar sum, and the omega is defined like this: V as omega cross R. Okay, when you define like this, the omega of any particle is in the same direction, so we can add them like a scalar. Okay, here the torque is there, but there is no force. So this thing, see, even if the thing is not pivoted at this point, it will this C point will not move. It will start rotating about the point. Okay, that's also an interesting thing to note. Let me explain that. See, suppose I have a rod, say uniform rod. Okay, and I apply force here and force here. It will start rotating, right? And what are the axes about which it will rotate? It will rotate about the center point, center of mass. Forces are equal. Even if the forces are not equal, then it will also rotate about the center of mass only. Is it clear? Your mic is off.
Yes, sir.
Okay, but if I don't, sorry, I have not pivoted that thing. Okay, but suppose I am pivoting the rod, it's some corner, somewhere not in the middle, but somewhere else. Now applying the force F1 and two different forces. It can be also same force. Now we'll just start rotating about which point? He'll rotate about the center of mass, but here will rotate about this point, right? Because it's fixed here.
Yeah.
Okay, so whenever it is fixed, the axis is fixed, it will rotate about the fixed axis. But when there is no axis, it will rotate about center of mass. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, suppose I take a not like this. Say an object of this shape, okay, and I'm throwing it in air. Okay, so it will start rotating as well as translating, but it will rotate about its center of mass. Center of mass will be somewhere here. Okay, so when it goes up, it becomes something like this. Okay, so it is rotating about this center of mass, and the axis is also moving. Okay, and the axis will actually form a projectile motion. Suppose I'm throwing this from the ground. When you throw a point mass, it will follow a projectile path, no?
Yeah.
Similarly, when you throw an extended body, the center of mass will form a parabolic path, projectile. But
Yeah.
the individual masses will have some complicated paths.
Yeah.
Okay. So it is rotating. So it is rotating about center of mass. So when there is no axis, fixed axis, the body, if it is when you apply a force, it will rotate about the center of mass. Even if there is only one force, okay, and there's no other force, then also it will rotate about the center of mass only. Okay, because what the body will sense is the torque. So whether the force F2 is applied here or some other force is applied somewhere else, or if it is split into two parts and applied at two places, it does not matter. But the translation motion will depend on the force. Okay, so on this one, this example. Moment of couple means torque. Couple means equal
Yeah.
and opposite forces. Couple means equal and opposite forces, so F and minus F. Okay, obviously they are equal and the direction is opposite, right? That's the meaning of a couple. Okay, so this is not a couple. This is not a couple. Okay, F and minus F is a couple. Got it?
Yes.
Because couple will produce a torque. You should blindly write this. It's a vector equation. So the directions will automatically be taken care. Okay, this is by definition. So this is R12 cross F, right?
Yeah.
R12 is R1 minus R2. R1 minus R2. So this is the direction of R12. Is that correct? Yes. This is R1. This is R2. Minus R2 is this way. Okay, so this is R12. So R12 cross F. So even if it taken origin as someone here, okay, then also R12 will be same, right? It will not change.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what you want to understand here. So that the moment of the couple does not depend on the point about which you take moments. So here, this is the origin about which I'm taking the torque or the moment, and here I'm changing the origin to O1, but again it's R12. Okay, so the torque of a couple does not change to the change of the origin. Clear?
Yes, sir.
That's what is written here. So can you write the equilibrium equations of this one? This is a rod of length d1 plus d2, and this is a pivot. It's fixed at this point. Okay, and there are forces F1 and F2 acting in the direction shown. So the net force acting on it is F1 plus F2, right? And it is downwards. Okay, so for this to be in equilibrium, F1 plus F2 should be equal to 0. And what is the torque? Write the torque equation. See, for equilibrium, you have to write the force equation, right? Force equal to 0 and torque equal to 0. So force equal to 0 is F1 plus F2 equal to 0. There is one more force here. There is a reaction here because it's a support or a pivot. There is a reaction force here. So R minus F1. Is this clear? This equation is clear.
Yeah.
This is for translation equilibrium. Similarly, you have to write your torque as 0. Torque about, say, any point. Choose this point as O. The point as O. That will be convenient. So what is torque about point O? F1 into D1, right? and then F2 into P2, and the directions are opposite. F1 will try to reduce the thing, rotate the thing in anti-clockwise direction, and F2 is going to rotate the thing in clockwise direction. So both are opposite. You can also get the direction from the direction of R cross F. So the torque is d1 F1 minus d2 F2 equal to 0. Torque equation.
Yeah.
Okay, so these are the two equilibrium equations. The previous year only we write this one translation, but here I have to write this additional equation for rotational equilibrium. Okay.
Yeah.
So what is center of mass? Not the definition. Just I told you with the way of understanding it, right? Center of mass is the point about which I can balance the mass, right?
Yeah.
You have two masses. If it is equal mass, it will be the center point. But if you just like 2m and m, the balance point will be here, right?
Yeah.
Here I'm assuming that there is a force here, G and G, right? Only when there is force, I'll search for the balancing point, right? The gravity force. But, right? So center of mass is the center point of the masses. Center of gravity is the center point of where I can balance it. Okay. So center of mass and center of gravity are same.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the difference will come if the gravity force at this point is G1 and the gravity at this point is G2. Okay. Then it will change.
Yeah.
Okay. But on the Earth's surface, the gravity is uniform. It will not change
Yeah.
from point to point. So center of mass will be same as center of gravity.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Do the balance. But since the gravity force is same, it will be same as the center of mass. The difference will come if there is a change in force of gravity from point to point. So, okay. So, last class, I think last class only, I told you how to find a center of gravity for triangular thing. Where it will be located? Triangular lamina.
Centroid.
Centroid. The way to understand this, it will get balanced by this point, right? Symmetry point. Symmetry point means this distance should be equal to this distance. Okay, similarly, it will get balanced by this line also. If I support the whole thing by a stick, this stick, it will stay balanced, right?
Yeah.
Similarly, this stick also. So the center of mass is somewhere along the stick. Center of mass is also along this line. So it is on both the lines. So it should be at this intersecting point, right? So similarly, if you have a irregular object, this is for a triangle. Say irregular object, but say like a disc, lamina. The way to find the center of mass is I'll try to support this disc by a stick. Okay, and it'll support this mass by another stick. Okay, then this is the center of mass, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so here's the irregular object. Okay, to place this stick, I may have to do some trial and error, right? So instead of that, what I can do is I'll support this lamina from a support point. Okay, so it will pass through. There will be a vertical line. Okay, so now along this vertical line, if I try to support this one, it will stay in balance. Okay, similarly, so I'll choose a B point and hang it vertically. So that vertical line is here. So the intersecting point of this line, A and B, is the point about which the whole mass will balance. So this is a method of finding center of mass or center of gravity of a irregular shaped lamina. Got it?
Yes, sir.
So here I'm saying I'll place a stick and then find and I'll adjust the lamina such that the thing is balanced, right? Instead of that, what I can do is I can hang it vertically and draw a vertical line that will automatically coincide with the stick. I'll hang the lamina at this point and this vertical line, and if I support this lamina with the stick along this A1, it will stay in balance. Okay. Similarly, if I hang it along this from this point B, along this BB1, the whole mass will be in balance. So it should be balanced at the intersecting point. From that, I can find the center of gravity. And center of gravity is same as center of mass if the gravity is uniform of a irregular shape. Okay. For a particle of mass m, we can define a quantity which is called m into Ra square, which is called moment of inertia. I think I put that thing in the video. See, I have a particle of mass mi. Okay, so its mass is mi. Similarly, I can define a quantity. Suppose I have an axis here, and this is at a distance Ra from this one. I can define a quantity called mi mr square. Okay, and this is called moment of inertia of this particle. Mass is sometimes it's inertia, right? If you remember the
Yeah.
Newton's first law.
Yeah.
So mass is inertia, and mr square is called moment of inertia. Okay, so if you have two particles, say this is m2 and this is m1, this is at distance r2, then the moment of inertia of the system is m1 r1 square plus m2 r2 square. Okay, and the significance of this one is torque equal to dl by dt, right? This is analogous to F equal to dp by dt in the translation motion. Okay, and from torque I'll get I omega.
Yeah.
Hold on, now I have to get the torque as I into omega. First we have defined what is okay. I'll derive the thing later. So basically, this torque is I into omega, similar to force is torque is I into omega. Force is dp m into acceleration, right?
Yeah.
So instead of force we have torque, and instead of mass we have moment of inertia I, and instead of acceleration, so torque is I into angular acceleration. Okay. Right. So we have to find I of a system of different distributions. Suppose I have a two masses, it's sigma mr square. Now I have a rod, say, of uniform mass. So total mass is m. I want to find this moment of inertia of this rod about an axis passing through the center. Okay. So I have to find I of the rod about its center. What is the value? Suppose I take a mass here. Okay, dm. Say the distance r. What is the moment of inertia of this small mass? It will be dm r square, right?
Yeah.
And if I take another element here, that's also dm into that r square. So I just have to add this thing. So I have to integrate this one from r equal to, say this is the origin, so 0, and say this length is a. So r equal to 0 to a, and then multiply by twice. Why twice? 0 to a, ta will cover only this side, right? 1/2. And the dm here and the dm here will contribute the same amount because it's dm into r square. Even minus r will have the same value of r square. Okay, that's why it is twice, right? And dm you can write as what? You have already learned calculus, no? Mathematics. So dm you can write as dr into lambda, right? Lambda is kg per meter, being your mass density, and lambda will be equal to m divided by 2a. Yes, sorry, small m by 2a. M is the total mass, right?
Yeah.
And it is m by 2a. Okay, so it will be m by 2a, it's a constant, will come outside, and it will be dr r square, right? So what is this integral? R cube by 3, 0 to a. So it is a cube by 3. So it is m. Similarly, so this is a ring, okay? Ring of mass m. The moment of inertia of this thing is mr square, because if you take any part of the ring, the distance of the ring is at a distance r, right, from the axis. So all the mass is at a distance r. Okay, so it's as if the whole mass is concentrated at a point at a distance r, right? That's why it's same as mr square. But if you rotate about this diameter, then only this mass is at a distance r from the axis. Other masses are nearby. Okay, so that's why the moment of inertia of this about this axis will be less than this one, because here the mass is more distributed. I depends on both the mass and the distance of the mass. Here the mass is nearby some part of the mass. Only one point is at a distance r. Other points are closer than r. That's why the moment of inertia of this about this axis will be less than this one, and it is half. This you can get the integration. Okay. Got it? I'm basically saying it should be less than the previous one about the diameter. Okay. Similarly, for the disk of mass m, this should be less than the ring of mass m, because in the ring, all the mass at the distance are compared to the disk. Some mass at the distance are, other masses are nearby, right? So mr square of this distribution should be less, and the factor is half. Okay. And the same disk, if I rotate about the diameter, compared to this one, it should be lesser, because here the masses are close by. Got it? Compared to this one, if you just take a ring, this I can split into rings, right? So any ring, the corresponding ring here, that ring is closer to the axis compared to this one. Okay, so the amount of inertia about this axis to be less than this one. Yes, because here the mass is more distributed, and that factor is half. Okay, and moment of inertia of a cylinder should be mr square only, because all the masses are at a distance r. It's a hollow cylinder. It should be same as a point mass at a distance r. Is it clear? This one?
Yes.
Okay. Similarly, if you take a solid cylinder of same mass m, it will be less, because some mass is nearby, and that factor is half. Okay. Just understand that this and this thing should be less, because the mass here is less distributed, because some mass is near to the axis. Here all the mass are at a distance r. Right. All these things can be proved by integration. First thing is trivial. You don't have to prove by integration. Okay. And yes, and all the things have this dependence of m into r square, m into some length square, m into r square. Okay, everything m r square. Only the factors will change, because a distributed body, the torque is I into alpha. So first you have to find the I of the body, and I of the body depends on the axis also, because I is m into r square, and r is the distance from the axis. The difference between this and this is the axis. The body is same, but the axis is different. The moment of inertia is changing because of the change in axis. But the mass will not change, right? Mass is always same. Mass will not change from depending on the axis. But moment of inertia depends on the mass and how far the mass is distributed from the axis.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Usually it is, I said, 2 weeks per chapter, right? But this chapter will take 1 month. Okay.
Oh,
This is a big, important and interesting chapter. So this chapter
okay.
should take double the time.
Okay, sir.
Right. So we'll close
So,
now.
sir, July we will not have regular classes, right?
Yeah, because you have coaching, no? And I don't have time also. So whenever
Yeah,
you're finding difficulty, just let me know and
yeah,
tell me what you want to discuss. Any questions or any
yes,
topics, any concepts,
yes,
and
yeah.
I'll prepare according to that.
Okay, sir.
Okay. See you tomorrow.
Okay, bye, sir.